Hello everybody. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I draw these skulls in different perspectives. So over here, the first one that I tried, and these were something that I did earlier on yesterday just to get a warm-up session in. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and I will show you how I do not all of them, but some of them, some interesting views to go over. So with that being said, let's get started. So the first one I'm going to do is this 3/4 one looking to the top. So with that I'm going to select this raster brush, and I just chose the pen brush for this and I'm going to be using this blue color, which the only reason I chose the blue color is just to give it some sort of a contrast from the other colors. So for this I'm going to start with the line first. And these lines don't have to be perfect. You can just draw a rough line and go from there. So I got the 3 lines. Now I'm gonna connect these to make the box. Just one there, 2, 3 over there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase these extra lines, and then another extra line that I'm going to do is to show where the end of the skull is going to start, or the eye that's facing away from us. The line like that, and then another line over here. This is just to give a sense of direction as to where I want this eye, which is the eye that's going furthest out, and then this eye that's the closest to us. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer, and then I'm going to choose a darker shade of this color, the blue, and I'm going to draw a circle, or somewhat of a circle. Pull that down like that, and just resize the circle more like an egg. So now we have that inside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this line as a reference to draw the square part, or the rectangular squarish type of shape part of the jaw. So I'm going to bring down the line like this. Then I'm going to use this line as a reference to draw the curve. I'm going to draw another line over here, actually. Draw another line over here. So now we got the basic part of the skull, which is the top of the skull, and then the bottom part where the jaw is gonna go. So what I'll do from this point is I'm going to reduce the opacity of this down to maybe around 50, and then this guide box, I'm gonna turn that down to about 40. So now we got that. So now I'm going to come back to the layer which I drew these the circular shape for the skull, and I'm going to try to draw draw the first eye, which is actually, it's going to be here, and then I'm going to draw this nose part of it which intersects the eye. So the bottom part of the triangle the line is in parallel to this line down here, and then this line is somewhat parallel to this line up here. So that's one eye. And now since the second eye is going to be coming a little bit closest to us, it'll be getting bigger. So I'm going to draw another circle over here, more like an oval obviously. Now I got that. So I've got the 2 eyes and the nose. And then now for the teeth, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this line down here like that, and I'm going to bring another line down here like that. Now I'm going to turn this over and then give it a curve shape over here, and then I'm going to do the part of the jaw, which would be this part over here that goes in like that. So that kind of shows the depth of the inside of the jaw. And then I'm gonna play around with these lines over here. And then build up the inside of the jaw, which is with another line over here. When you're doing this step, I mean, you can really play around with it as much as you want. The main thing is you gotta follow is you gotta stay inside this box to get the things somewhat to look in the perspective kind of view. So now I got all that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna position the teeth, and what I'm going to do for positioning the teeth is it's almost like kind of like laying out a fence, but except I'm going to follow the rectangular part of the jaw to place the teeth. So the first tooth is going to go over here, the second tooth is going to go over here, and you see how all this rough pencil sketch is kind of like muffling up or kind of like distorting how the view is. I'm just going to use the eraser to erase all of that extra pencil lines out. There's a third tooth, and you can draw any type of shaped teeth you want. I mean, you can draw them triangular, you can draw them like a box. And now for this section over here, since this is curved, I'm going to do the teeth where it starts out a little big and then kind of slowly tapers off being small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this tooth over here, and I use this blue line to kind of get a center. And I'm going to draw another tooth over here, another one over here, and then another one over here. So now we got the placement of the teeth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the eraser, and I'm just going to erase all these rough pencil lines or digital pencil lines. You don't really have to do this, but you can if you, and you can just move on to the next part, which is the inking. But when you lower the opacity down to this layer, you kind of want to get an idea as to where you'll be inking, which is why I do this part, which is just erase out the extra lines. So now we have that. So at this point we kind of have a general an 80% understanding of what the skull is going to look like in this view. So we have the eyes drawn, we have the nose. Oh, I forgot to do this. Then I have to erase that part of the eye because you won't see it. This is the cool part. What I like also about digital art is when you're doing these rough sketches for any section that has kind of like more than one connecting point, you can do, I mean, you can even do this with an eraser and pencil, but whenever you put down that pencil mark on the paper, you always have that impression that the pencil leaves behind, so you kind of can't get that to get covered up no matter how much you draw it. So this part and digital part is the fun thing. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get this layer and drag it on top of that and turn down the opacity down a little bit further. And what happens, I think, when I combine these layers is both of them reset to 100. So now what it'll be down to 30. Now I'm going to make a new layer on top of this, and we'll start with the inking. So for this section, instead of drawing the box, I'm going to try something a little different. We'll just start with simple shapes, and then in the next layer I'll build out the skull. So let's start with the circle. Maybe like that. Now I'm gonna give it some sort of middle point, this little arc, and then I'm gonna try, putting a little rectangular box up here for the eye part. This is one thing our instructor when I was in the industrial design program used to always tell us to try something different or new besides what they taught us in class, so you get a better understanding of what the final look would end up like. Even drawing this technique of just using simple shapes helps build the actual structure of the skull. This arch is not really working too well. We'll keep it in the drawing for the moment. Okay, so this will be probably where the eyes are gonna be, and then for the teeth, which will be down here, I'm gonna start with this arc. Usually the instructor would recommend not to really erase lines unless it's absolutely necessary, because you don't know if you might be able to repurpose the line somewhere else in the rough sketch. So we got this part down, and then I'm gonna use that same line. Instead of how it went over here, I'm gonna actually bring it down over here like that and kind of carry it off into the distance. So now, since we've got that shape, let's go ahead and center it. And now what I'm gonna do is, actually I'm just gonna keep building off of where the eyes would be, and then where the nose would come. And then another thing I'm going to try a little different is I'm going to bring this line down here and then build another arch over here. So now for this part of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and build the teeth in this section over here. Obviously the nose will be over here, and then the eyes over here. Drawing these different views is cool when you're first starting out, because it gives you a better understanding of the different ways you can draw a skull. Alright, so now I'm gonna turn down the opacity of this layer down to 40. I'm gonna make a new layer and draw the skull, or the rough version of the skull. So let's try the eyes first. Draw the nose over here. Use that line to show the inside part of the nose, then use those lines to show the inner section of the eye area. Then again you'll see the bottom part over here, it goes up over here. And the reason I do this is to get an understanding, to move the canvas, is to see if that changes anything from what I see it. And I used to always do that when I was drawing with the good old paper. So now let's start with the teeth. And I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but let's see. We'll start with the first tooth up here. And then the second tooth will be a little smaller than that because it's going off into the distance. This is my first time I'm trying this angle, so I don't know how it's gonna look in the very end. But hey, you gotta try to know if you can do it or you cannot, or if not, keep trying till you get it. So you got that. Now we're gonna do another big tooth like this and then just work our way around this side. I remember in an earlier drawing, an illustration that I'd done, I drew the skull in the exact same view, or somewhat similar of a view, and then in this section I kind of made it look like as if it was like a chill out area, and there was a little skeleton sitting in the skull's head. So now we're gonna extend out these little cheekbone things, and then over here we're gonna extend that out and then follow that line or the curve. Alright, so instead of keeping it circular, I think I'm gonna square it up. And just because I drew the first blue rough circle over here, that doesn't mean that I have to stick with it. I mean, that's just a guide. So now we have the top looking down view. and then I can just use this guide to make it show like the half layer, and then maybe give this section kind of almost make it look like he's or he or she is wearing a set of eyeglasses. Yeah, that little thing that sits on the eyeglasses, which kind of sits in your nose. So that's what that is. And then draw the. This was not a plan. This was not part of the plan, but hey, it looked like eyeglasses, so I turned it into eyeglasses. Alright, so that's how I draw that. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the inking and show you what it looks like in this view when it's done. So let's begin the inking. So this is what I ended up doing with the first one, guys. I colored it using some blues, and then I wanted to play around with some texture and gave it kind of like almost like a rock look. And then for the last one, I did different shades of yellow and then also gave this kind of like a textured look. So with that being said, for the next video, what I'm thinking of is I'm gonna do feet in a perspective view, which is kind of a follow-up to the first video I'd done where I'd drawn a foot, and we'll see how that goes, or we'll see how you guys like this video. And the plan is to make some more videos with the different perspective views on the different bones of the skeleton body, or the skeleton, I mean. But with that being said, I'm gonna end this video off by saying keep creating, keep drawing. I'll see y'all guys down the road or on the other side. Bye for now.